Welcome back. Today our topic is strategies for enhancement in food production. Strategies, the methods, what we have to follow to increase food production. Why we need to increase food production? Already food is already producing, but why we need to increase, still we have to increase this food production? Because in India, and not only in India, in the worldwide population is increasing. The population is increasing with alarming rate in India and China. So that in these countries, when the population is increasing, the producing land area will not be increased. The land area will not be increased. So agricultural land area will remain as it is, but population will increase. The population, when it is increasing, for the meets of the to meet the demands of the people, to meet the food demands of the people, we need to increase the food production within the same area. The same land agriculture area will not be increased. When the agriculture area is not increased, the same earlier food is produced means to increase in population, the food will not be enough. So that we need to increase the food production within the limited area. So production of food should be increased than that of earlier production. So we need to follow some strategies. So these strategies are we are going to discuss in this lesson. So first let us see what is strategies, what are the strategies. First let us see animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. What is animal husbandry? Let us see. Animals are important for increasing food production. We know already animals, for the animal, many animal products the human beings are consuming, like milk and meat, and some of the other products also, commercially useful products also coming from animals. So that animal husbandry is one of the important concepts in strategies enhancement in food production. Then animal husbandry means what? Breeding. What is animal husbandry? Breeding and rearing. Breeding and rearing of livestock. Breeding and rearing of livestock is known as breeding and rearing of livestock is known as animal husbandry. What is animal husbandry? Breeding and rearing of livestock. Livestock means nothing but cattle. Here livestock means nothing but cattle. Breeding and rearing of livestock is called animal husbandry. In animal husbandry, what are the things that comes? Dairy farm management, and next one fisheries, and next one is apiculture, next sericulture, poultry, all these things. Sericulture is also comes under animal husbandry, but it is not for food. Poultry, so these are totally animal husbandry. These are the parts are present in animal husbandry. So breeding and rearing of livestock is known as animal husbandry. First let us see in this dairy farm management. So before seeing what is the importance of dairy farm management, first let us see animals. Dairy farm management is nothing but same breeding and rearing of animals for yielding milk. The animals which are giving milk, so those type of animals we have to breed and we have to increase in the number, and at the same time we have to increase the productivity of those animals. So dairy farm management. Dairy farm management means nothing but rearing and breeding of livestock, or not only livestock but also some other animals like sheep and other animals which are producing milk. And dairy farm management. Now let us see for an example why we need to improve this dairy farm management also, or animal husbandry, and this food production, why we need to increase. Around 70% of livestock, is present only in, India and China. Around 70% of livestock is present in livestock population. In the world population of livestock, around 70% of animals are present only in India and China. So in the total world, let us take the all animals. In that all animals, 70% of animals are present only in India and China. But the productivity rate is only 25%. Surprisingly, the productivity rate is 25% only. So based on this, in the world productivity of the milk, in the world productivity, 25% of world productivity of milk or world productivity of dairy farms, world productivity of dairy farm. So in the world productivity of dairy farms, 25% only can be seen in India and China. But how many animals are there? 70% of animals are present in India and China. But only 25% of world productivity we are achieving. Meaning is, we can understand very clearly that these animals productivity is very less when compared to the other animals present in other countries. So 25% of world productivity we are achieving means, so whatever the methods we are following, these methods are what we can say conventional methods. Conventional method means old methods or traditional methods which are not suitable to increasing food production for increasing population. So conventional methods means nothing but the old methods. Those methods are not enough to meet the demands of population, increasing population. The population is increasing, so that when the population is increasing, we need to improve the food, or we need to improve the dairy farm, we need to improve the milk productivity also. To meet the demands of the population, milk productivity we need to improve means we should not follow conventional methods. Means along with conventional methods, we need to follow some other modern methods also. So with these modern methods, we can achieve more amount of milk productivity compared to earlier cases. Now let us see dairy farm management. Dairy farm management is nothing but maintenance of animals for milk and its products. Maintenance of animals for milk and milk products. Milk and its products is known as dairy farm management. Dairy farm management means nothing but managing of animals for milk and its products. Managing of animals for milk and its products is known as dairy farm management. In the dairy farm management, two things are very, very important. So the first one is high potential yield. High potential yield, and next one is high potential yield containing breeds, and second one is disease resistance. These two are very, very important. In dairy farm management. High potential to yield. So we have to select. Here important thing is, this is the chief method, this is the chief thing for dairy farm management, because the potentiality of the breed is very, very essential. If the breed is potential to produce the milk, then only the dairy farm will get succeeded. That is, high potential towards the yield is very, very important, and this is the chief method for dairy farm management. And second one is disease resistance. For example, in the dairy farm, one animal is having any disease, that disease will be spread easily to other animals also, so that productivity of milk productivity will be definitely decreased. So that disease resistant breeds also very, very essential for maintenance of dairy farm. The first two important things are to selecting the high potential breeds, to produce more yield, selecting high potential breeds, and second one is disease resistant breeds. Selection of high potential breeds and disease resistant breeds. This is very, very important method in dairy farm management, because the dairy farm success of the dairy farm is mainly depends on this one. Because high potential breeds are there in the dairy farm means the dairy farm can be succeeded. And second one is disease resistant. When the disease resistant animals are there, then only they can produce more yield. Next one is to maintain house. The animal should be well housed and well ventilated, related to well housed and well equipped. So the animals should be kept in a good form, and it should be highly ventilated and air free. It should be air movement also should be free, and light, proper lighting, and everything is very, very essential. And next one is cleanliness, hygiene and cleanliness. Hygiene and cleanliness is very, very essential for this dairy farm management. Hygiene and cleanliness is also very, very important, because of this hygiene and cleanliness only we can expect more productivity, because hygiene and cleanliness is there means, then what will happen? The animals will be disease free, so that when animals are disease free, we can expect more yielding. Next one is food, the fodder. The fodder should be kept in, the fodder should be given in scientific manner. The fodder should be given in scientific manner. The fodder should be given in scientific manner. The fodder should be given in scientific manner, because in the scientific veterinary centers, they will give very clear information how much amount of food should be given for the one animal. So that method, scientific method, should be followed while giving fodder. And next one is maintenance of disease free, maintenance of disease free animals, disease free nature. So this is very, very important to protect the animals. So we have to look after the animals, and they should be disease free. And last one is proper maintenance of the records. Proper maintenance of the records and regular visit of a veterinary doctor. Veterinary doctor. So these are the things are important for dairy farm management. And first one is high potential breeds we have to select. Selection of high potential breeds is important step in dairy farm management. And second one, selection of disease resistant breeds. And next one, the animals should be well housed and well equipped. And the next one is the hygiene and cleanliness should be maintained while milking. Hygiene and cleanliness should be maintained while milking. However, many methods came nowadays. These are all the works are now become mechanized. So because for milking, for all these things, for collection of milk, so for all these things now machines are available, so that milking can be done by using of these machineries. And now fodder should be provided in a scientific manner. And the animal should be disease free. And proper maintenance of records. Proper maintenance of records is very, very important. For proper maintenance of records means at what time that animal was born, at what time that vaccination should be given, all these things, and how much amount of milk is producing, all these things should be clearly recorded. And last one is regular visit of a veterinary doctor is very, very essential. So weekly or in a particular time period, the doctor has to come, and the doctor has to treat all these animals, so to maintain disease free. So these are the things we need to follow in dairy farm management. Now let us see the types of breeds in cattle. There are three types of breeds are there. The breeds will be divided into three types. First one is the breeds are divided into three types. The breeds of cattle are divided into three types. First one is milk breeds, and the second one is milk breeds or milch breeds, and second one is dual purpose breeds, and third one is the third one is draught breeds. So these are the three breeds. These are the three types of breeds are there. So some of the breeds are called milk breeds or milch breeds. Some of the breeds are called milk breeds or milch breeds. Milch breeds or second type of breeds are known as dual purpose breeds, and third type of breeds are known as draught breeds. First, breeds are categorized into three types. The breeds are categorized into three types. First one is milk breeds or milch breeds. Second one is dual purpose breeds, and third one is draught breeds. So first let us see the examples for the milk breeds. First one is Red Sindhi. Red Sindhi is a breed from Pakistan, and second one is another one more breed is Sahiwal. Sahiwal is another type of breed. It is also from Pakistan, and third one is Gir. So these are the three breeds. First of all, let us see what is milk breed. The breeds which are only meant for producing milk. The breeds which are only meant for producing milk. So from that we cannot expect any agriculture practices, because some of the cattle, these breeds of cattle only meant for milk yielding, that's all. And here every breed contains males and females. Here the females they can produce good milk yielding, but males are very lazy in agriculture works, so that they will not be useful for agriculture works. So that this is, first one is Red Sindhi and second one is Sahiwal. These two from Pakistan. These two breeds from Pakistan, and this breed is from Gujarat. This breed is from Gujarat. Gir breed is from Gujarat. The Gir breed is from Gujarat. And Red Sindhi produces 3,450 kgs of milk in the during its lactation, and Sahiwal produces 1980 kgs of milk during the during the time of lactation. And Gir, so this is produced 900 kgs of milk during its lactation. So these are the three types of milk breeds. The breed names are very, very important related to NEET. The breed names are very, very important to read. The first one is milk breeds. Milk breeds examples Red Sindhi and Sahiwal and Gir. Red Sindhi, Sahiwal and Gir. The Red Sindhi and Sahiwal both are from Pakistan. Red Sindhi and Sahiwal both are from Pakistan. Red Sindhi produces 3,450 kgs of milk during its lactation. And Sahiwal produces 1980 kgs of milk during its time of lactation. And Gir produces 900 kgs of milk, during its time of during the time of lactation. That is, these are the types of milk breeds: Red Sindhi, Sahiwal and Gir. Next one is dual purpose breeds. Dual purpose breeds are for milk as well as agriculture work. Milk as well as agriculture work. So these are both dual purpose breeds are for both cases. They can produce milk as well as the male participants. So the dual purpose breeds are useful for production of milk as well as for working purpose. And the male animals useful for agriculture works, and the female animals are useful for milk. So these are examples. Now let us see. First one is, the first example for this is Haryana. The first example is Haryana, and second example is Tar Parker, and third one is Congrej. Congrej, K-A-N-G-R-E-J, Congrej. So these are totally three types of breeds. Dual purpose breeds. They produce milk. The female animals produce milk, and the male animals are useful for agriculture works. And Tar Parker is from, so Haryana is from Haryana, and next one is Tar Parker is from Jodhpur, Rajasthan. Tar Parker is from Jodhpur, Rajasthan, and Congrej Kangraj is from Gujarat. Kangraj is from Gujarat. So this is also present in Gujarat also. This is also present in Kutch, Gujarat. Kutch, Gujarat. Thar Park is also present in Kutch, Gujarat. So these are Thar Parker from Jodhpur and Kangraj is from Gujarat. So these are the dual purpose breeds. So that here male animals and female animals both are useful. If the male animal is there means that is for agriculture works and the female animal is for milk productivity. The female animal produce more milk, at the same time the male animal is useful for more agriculture works also. So these type of breeds are called dual purpose breeds. Example for dual purpose breeds are very important: Haryana, Thar Parker and Kangraj. And next one, drought breeds. Drought breeds are three types. Drought breeds are three types. First one is drought breeds are, first of all let us see what is drought breeds. Drought breed means we can understand, you see here this is only for milk and this is for milk and agriculture work. And now drought breeds means drought. We know drought means no water, means no milk here. Meaning is drought breed means they cannot produce milk. The female animals cannot produce milk, but male animals are good for agriculture. They are only meant for agriculture work and the agricultural work. They are meant for agriculture work only. Drought breeds are meant for agricultural work only. And the female animals in this, they are not useful. They can produce very low yielding of milk. They produce very low yielding of milk. So that these type of breeds are called drought breeds. Here what we have to understand is, in the first one milk breeds, in the milk breeds, the female animals only useful and the male animals are not useful because they are very lazy in agriculture works. So milk breed males are not useful, only females are useful. And dual purpose breeds are both males and females are useful because males for agriculture work and females for producing milk. Now drought breeds means females are useless. The males are meant for agriculture work. In this, the breeds are three types of breeds are there. First one is Kangayam from Tamil Nadu. Hallikar is from Karnataka. And third one is Amrit Mahal. Amrit Mahal is from Mysore, Karnataka. So these are the breeds are called drought breeds: Kangayam, Hallikar and Amrit Mahal. Kangayam, Hallikar and Amrit Mahal, these three are called drought breeds. The drought breeds are only meant for agriculture works and the female animals of these drought breeds are not useful for producing milk. Now let us discuss exotic breeds. Exotic breeds. The breeds come from other countries. The breeds taken from other countries are called exotic breeds. In the first case we have seen milk breeds, Red Sindhi and Sahiwal. Those are from Pakistan. Those are not considered as these exotic breeds because those are all produced from once upon a time from our India only. Before independence, the Pakistan was a part of India only. So that we should not consider as those two breeds, even though they are from Pakistan, we should not consider as exotic breeds. Now let us see exotic breeds. In the exotic breeds, first one is Jersey. Exotic breeds, first one is Jersey. Second one is Holstein Friesian, Holstein Friesian, and third one is Swiss Bull. These are the three: Jersey, Holstein Friesian, and Swiss Bull. These are Jersey from England. Jersey was the brand came from England, and Holstein Friesian came from Europe, and Swiss Bull is come from America. Swiss Bull is come from America. So this is not from Switzerland. Swiss Bull is come from America. So Jersey came from England, and Holstein Friesian came from Europe, and Swiss Bull came from America. And Jersey, if you see, 5,000 to 8,000 kgs of milk it produces during its lactation. 5,000 to 8,000 kgs of milk it produces during time of lactation. And Holstein produces 7,000 to 10,000 kgs of milk it produces. 7,000 to 10,000. Next it produces, it is also produces almost 6,000 to 9,000. 6,000 to 9,000 it produces Swiss bull type. So that is now Holstein Friesian. So Holstein Friesian is considered as highest milk breed. So the maximum amount of milk is obtained from Holstein Friesian. Holstein Friesian. Holstein Friesian is the maximum amount of Holstein Friesian is the maximum amount of milk producing breed. So these are exotic breeds. Next one, new breeds, let us see. New breeds. So new breeds means the breeds obtained due to the crossbreeding between two different breeds. The crossbreeding means what? The mating of two different animals which are belong to two different breeds are called crossbreeding. So due to crossbreeding, the new breeds are obtained. The first one is in this Currant Swiss. Currant Swiss. The Currant Swiss is came from, the Currant Swiss is crossed by, the Currant Swiss is produced due to the cross between Sahiwal and Sahiwal is crossed with, the Sahiwal is crossed with Swiss bull. Sahiwal is crossed with Swiss bull. And next one, second type is Currant Frisia. Currant Frisia. Currant Frisia is another one that is crossed with Thor Parker. Thor Parker female. Thor Parker female crossed with, when Thor Parker female is crossed with Holstein Friesian. Holstein Friesian. Holstein Friesian male. So Holstein Friesian male and Thor Parker female. Holstein Friesian male and Thor Parker females. So both together and produce, crossed and produce Currant Frisia. And Currant Swiss is produced Sahiwal female and Swiss bull. Swiss bull and Sahiwal female. So these two crossed and produce Currant Swiss. These two are the new breeds. These two are new breeds. And third one is Sunandini. Sunandini is produced in Kerala. Sunandini is produced in Kerala by Desi cows, means local cows with any exotic breed. Any exotic breed. Any exotic breed like these three exotic breeds, Jersey, Holstein and Swiss bull. So Sunandini is produced in Kerala. Sunandini is produced in Kerala breed. Sunandini is produced in Kerala breed. This breed was developed in Kerala and it was a new breed. So which is crossed by, which is obtained by crossing between Desi cows and exotic breeds like Jersey, Holstein and Swiss bull. So these are exotic breeds and new breeds. Now let us see poultry. Poultry. What is poultry? Growing of birds. Growing of birds for meat and egg. Growing of birds for meat and egg. Growing of birds for meat and eggs is known as poultry. Growing or rearing or breeding of rearing and breeding of birds for providing meat and eggs is known as poultry. In the poultry farm, what are the steps to be, what are the precautions to be taken from poultry farm? Let us see first one. In the poultry farm, first one is what? First one, disease-free birds we have to select. Disease-free birds we have to select for existing in climatic conditions. So in the given climatic conditions, they have to exist. Climatic conditions. Disease-free birds should be taken and selection of disease-free birds for existing the climatic conditions. So that is the first one. Second one is proper hygiene has to be maintained. Proper hygiene has to be maintained. And we have to provide adequate space and proper amount of space so that overcrowding will be avoided. Proper space. First one, disease-free. Disease-free types has to be selected. the disease-free varieties of birds have to be selected, and they should be, which should be suitable for the given climatic conditions. In our climatic conditions, they have to be suitable, and the same type of, and disease-free breeds we have to take. And at the same time, hygiene and space we must have to maintain in the poultry farm. Hygiene and space we must have to maintain in poultry farm, and because of the high hygiene, what is the use of hygiene? It will maintain disease-free. And the proper space, when proper space is maintained, means elaborately, if it is present, overcrowding will be avoided. So then next one is, third one is, proper nutrition should be provided. Proper nutrition should be provided. Proper nutrition should be provided. Proper nutrition should be provided, and proper nutrition should be provided to avoid the diseases. And next one is light. Sufficient lighting should be there, and the lighting, how much is required? 14 to 16 hours of lighting is required for poultry. 14 to 16 hours of lighting is required for poultry. So generally you might have seen in poultry farms, generally they will maintain tube lights. Even the night also they will maintain the tube lights. Why? Because 14 to 16 hours of light is required for the poultry farms. So that proper amount of light, and water is also required. Proper amount of light and water is also required. So that is the next one. Next one is, now let us see environmental conditions. So related to environmental conditions, and temperature, environmental conditions and proper temperature has to be, environmental conditions and proper means optimum temperature we have to maintain. Optimum temperature. Temperature is very, very essential for laying eggs, and temperature is very, very essential for producing eggs. So that's why proper environmental conditions like optimum temperature we must have to maintain. And finally, outbreak of diseases and spreading of diseases. Outbreak of diseases. The spreading of diseases should be avoided. Outbreak of diseases should be avoided. So these are totally the steps to be taken in poultry farm. First one is disease-free climatic conditions. Disease-free climatic conditions, and second, disease-free, and in the disease-free birds should be taken in the climatic conditions. And second one is hygiene. Proper hygiene should be maintained, and proper space should be maintained. And third one is proper nutrition should be given for avoiding the diseases, and adequate amount of light is required for poultry farm. That's why tube lights will be maintained in the poultry farms, and proper amount of water should be there, and almost 14 to 16 hours of light is almost 14 to 16 hours of light is required for, almost 14 to 16 hours of light is required for poultry farm. The next one, environmental temperature. Environmental, proper environment should be maintained, and temperature should be optimum temperature should be maintained. The outbreak of diseases, spreading of diseases like coryza, these type of diseases are very well known diseases in poultry. Coryza viral disease. So these type of diseases should be avoided. So means spreading of the diseases should be avoided. The poultry are two types. First one is broilers, and second one is layers. Broilers are meant for meat. The broilers are meant for meat, and layers are meant for egg. So the varieties of birds, now let us see. The first one is asil. Asil is the variety of bird developed in Punjab. Asil is the variety of poultry developed in Punjab, and it is only meant for meat, and they are not good layers. They cannot produce eggs more. And second one is Gramapriya. Gramapriya is developed in Hyderabad, and it is produces almost 200 eggs per year. So that this is Gramapriya is a variety of poultry and developed in Hyderabad. These two are desi poultry, desi birds. And now another one more, the leghorn. Leghorn is developed in Italy. It is exotic. Leghorn is developed in Italy. It is good layers. 288 eggs are produced per year. 288 eggs are produced per year. That is Leghorn. So it is developed from Italy. Leghorn is developed from Italy. Next one is Rhode Island. Rhode Island. So Rhode Island is the variety of USA. The variety of Rhode Island is a variety of USA. It is also produced almost 300 eggs per year. It produces almost 300 eggs per year. So these are the variety of poultry. These are the variety of poultry we can see. Asil is developed from Punjab. Asil is the variety of poultry developed in Punjab, and it produces meat. It is meant for only meat. Gramapriya is the variety is developed in Telangana, Hyderabad. So that is 200 eggs it will produces per year. So that Gramapriya and Asil, these two are our country breeds. Asil and Gramapriya, these two are our country breeds. One is developed in Punjab, another one is developed in Hyderabad. And exotic breeds here, Leghorn is from Italy and Rhode Island is from USA. Rhode Island is from USA. These two are variety of exotic variety of poultry breeds. Now let us see an important essay question for this lesson is animal breeding. Animal breeding. First of all, let us see what is breed and how it is differs from species. What is species? A group of living organisms. A group of organisms which are having similar features are known as, which are having similar most common characters and they can interbreed freely is called species. Breed is one of the part in species. For example, dog is one species. In the dog, many breeds are there. Like Pug is one type of breed, and next German Shepherd is one type of breed. So Pug is one type of breed, German Shepherd is one type of breed. So these two breeds are present in the same species. So that is what we can say, species is somewhat higher compared to breed. So a species may contain many breeds. That we have to understand. What is a breed? Breed is somewhat lower than that of species. So a species may contain many breeds. For example, dog, many breeds are there. For example, rice, Oryza sativa, rice. Scientific name, Oryza sativa is the scientific name of rice. Rice contains many breeds, many varieties. So here we are saying the word not breed, we are using the word varieties. Many varieties are there. Like that within one species, many varieties are there. So that here in the, for example, in the animals, what we can say, we will say breed. We will say breed. So the breed is nothing but within the same species. For example, what we can say in human beings, we can see African breed, Indian breed. All the people are belong to same species, that is Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is the common term for all the people, all the human beings. But what we can say, African breed, Europe breed, like that what we can, different types of breeds we can say in human beings also. Like the breed means nothing but one of the sub-character, one of the subgroup of species. Then what is the definition for breed? So breed is nothing but a group of organisms. A group of organisms related by descent. The group of organisms related by same descent. Related by descent means they born for the same type of ancestors. So the group of organisms related by the same descent and having similar in, the second thing what we can say, in similar in most characters. Similar in most characters. The group of organisms related by the descent and similar in most characters. In most characters they are similar. Maximum characters they are similar. Like for example, what we can say, size, shape and configuration, size, shape and configuration, etc. Size, shape and configuration, etc. These are, this is called what? A breed. A breed is nothing but a group of organisms related by the same descent, and similar in most characters, size and shape and configuration, etc. So this is called as breed. a group of organisms related by the same descent and have similar and common in most characters and similar in most characters like size, shape, configuration, etc. So this group of animals are called a breed. A breed is nothing but a group of organisms related by the descent and similar in most characters like size, shape, configuration is known as breed. Next, let us see what is breeding. Breed is already we have seen breeding. So first of all we have to understand breed is nothing but a subgroup of species. Breed is nothing but a subgroup of species. Now let us see breeding. Purposeful manipulation of breeding is nothing but purposeful manipulation of two organisms. Purposeful manipulation of two organisms to produce a new desirable organism. Purposeful manipulation of two organisms to produce a new desirable variety of organism is known as breeding. So purposeful manipulation means crossing. Purposeful manipulation of two organisms to produce a new desirable organism is called breeding. Now we have to discuss about animal breeding. Now let us discuss animal breeding. Animal breeding. So animal breeding we have discussed already. The purposeful manipulation of two organisms to produce a new desirable organism. Purposeful manipulation of two organisms to produce a new desirable organism is called animal breeding. So now animal breeding, let us see types. So there are three types of animal breeding. The first one is, there are two types of animal breeding, There are two types. First one is inbreeding. And second one is outbreeding. The first one is inbreeding and second one is outbreeding. So what is inbreeding and what is outbreeding? Let us see now. Inbreeding and outbreeding. If the animal is crossed with its related organism, then it is called inbreeding. So the breeding between two animals which are closely related and having 4 to 6 common ancestors within they are having common ancestors within the 4 to 6 generations. That is called inbreeding. Inbreeding is nothing but the process of breeding between two animals which are closely related and having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations is known as inbreeding. They are having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. Now let us see outbreeding. Outbreeding means the organisms, the breeding between two animals which are not having common ancestors are unrelated organisms. They do not have common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. If they do not have common ancestors, simply what we have to say, inbreeding is nothing but the breeding between two animals which are related and having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. Within 4 to 6 generations is called inbreeding. The breeding between two animals which are having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. The breeding between two animals which are having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. So that if the 4 to 6 generations they are found common ancestors means obviously they are close related. And here outbreeding means the breeding between two different animals. Breeding between two unrelated organisms or unrelated animals and which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations is called outbreeding. So now inbreeding is already, inbreeding means the breeding between closely related animals in between closely related animals which are having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations is called inbreeding, which are having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations is called inbreeding. And the breeding strategy is what? What is the strategy of breeding? Always the breeding strategy is to take the animals, superior animals from one breed, superior animals of males, superior animal of females. The breeding strategy is always to take superior females and superior males. So what is the function of, what is the importance of, significance of inbreeding? Advantages of inbreeding. Advantage. First advantage is inbreeding increases homozygosity. Inbreeding increases homozygosity. Inbreeding increases homozygosity. Inbreeding increases homozygosity. Because of inbreeding, continuous inbreeding is happens, then most of the genes will reach to homozygosity and they become pure lines. And next one is they increase homozygosity. Second one, they eliminate harmful genes. They eliminate harmful genes and they eliminate harmful genes and accumulation of useful genes. Accumulation of useful genes and elimination of harmful genes by selection. Here important step is selection, because how harmful genes will be eliminated. For example, one plant is having one particular disease resistant, one particular gene is having one particular defected gene. The same defected gene is present in another particular plant. When these two plants are crossed, the two genes will come into the same offspring. So that the two offsprings is one, if the offspring is having two copies of the defected gene. Once again let us see, one plant is having one defected gene, another plant is also having the same defected gene. When these two plants are crossed, if the offspring receives the two genes, however, inbreeding means they are closely related animals. Close related animals means one animal may have one defected gene. Another animal also may have the same defected gene, because they both are having common ancestors. So that if the two animals are having same defected gene, then when these two are crossed, then what happens in the next case, what happens? And the offspring will receive the same two genes. So one copy of defected gene is no problem, but two copies of defected gene is a problem. One copy of defected gene is not a problem. Two copies of defected gene are a problem. So that such type of animals should be eliminated. Such type of animals should be eliminated, so that when this type of animals are eliminated, then what will happen? That elimination of harmful genes by selection. This process is called what? Selection. Selection means here useful gene containing animals we have to select for the next step, and harmful characters genes we should not select. The animal with harmful characters we should not select. So in this way, elimination of harmful genes by selection and accumulation of useful genes. So accumulation of useful genes and elimination of harmful genes by selection. And next one is homozygosity. They increase homozygosity. These are the advantages. These are the advantages of inbreeding. And inbreeding exploits. Inbreeding exploits exploitation of recessive genes. Exploitation of recessive genes. These are the totally it increases homozygosity, eliminate the harmful genes by selection, accumulation of useful genes, and exploitation of recessive genes. So these are the advantages of inbreeding. Advantages of inbreeding totally. These are advantages of inbreeding: increases homozygosity, eliminate harmful genes by selection, and accumulation of useful genes. Inbreeding accumulates useful genes and eliminates the harmful genes by selection. And next one is exploitation of recessive genes. These are advantages. Next, what is disadvantage? The disadvantage is inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression is Inbreeding depression is the disadvantage of, this is the disadvantage of inbreeding. Inbreeding depression is the disadvantage of inbreeding. What is inbreeding depression? Continuous inbreeding leads to decreasing the fertility and productivity. So that is what continuous inbreeding leads to decreasing fertility and productivity is called the inbreeding depression. So this is the main disadvantage of inbreeding. Next, let us see outbreeding. The outbreeding is nothing but crossing of two animals which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. Simply what we have to understand, crossing between two different animals, means not very close. They are not close animals. Two different animals. Breeding between two different animals is called outbreeding. Outbreeding is three types. So first one is outcross. Second one is crossbreeding, outcross, crossbreeding, and third one is interspecific breeding. Interspecific breeding. So outbreeding is three types. Outbreeding is what? What is outbreeding? Outbreeding is nothing but the breeding between two animals which are not related. That is called outbreeding. And in the outbreeding, what we can say here, outcross. Outcross means the cross between two organisms but which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. The organisms which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. The cross between two animals which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations is known as outcross. What is the significance of outcross? A single outcross helps in, a single outcross can removes inbreeding depression. A single outcross removes inbreeding depression. So inbreeding depression can be removed by a single outcross. Outcross means what? Two unrelated animals which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. Of course, these two are having common ancestors, but the common ancestors are not having within 4 to 6 generations. Means they are not very close. They produce from the same ancestors, but they are not very close. For example, if you see, we and our cousins, we are having the common ancestors within second generations. For example, our cousin is our father and their father. So that is first generation. Next, they both are having the same grandfather, means that is what we can say, we are having common ancestors within the second generation. Means 2 generations back we are having common ancestors. For example, if we take with our cousins, the cousins means, for example, our uncle, for example, let us take. So our brother, our father and his brother. So we are the children of our father, and our father's brother is also having some children. Those are cousins for us. So now we are having common ancestors. How many generations back? Definitely not in the first generation. Because first generation, our father is different, their father is different. But our father and their father both are same. So that grandfather are same for we people. So that what we can say, we are linked, or we are having common ancestor within second generation. So second generation only we are having common ancestors. Like that here what we are seeing, inbreeding depression. Inbreeding means what? The cross between two animals which are having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations. Within 4 to 6 generations, if they are having common ancestors, if they found common ancestors, two animals we are taking for breeding, for crossing. If they found common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations, that is called as inbreeding. If they didn't found common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations, that is called outbreeding or outcross. these are also animals, or these animals also related animals only, but far relative. These animals are related, but very close relative. So this is outcross, means the cross between two animals. The cross between two animals which are not having common ancestors within 4 to 6 generations is known as outcross. A single outcross is used to remove inbreeding depression. A single outcross is to remove inbreeding depression. Here important 2 mark question is there. What is inbreeding depression? What is inbreeding depression? How it can be overcome? What is inbreeding depression and how it can be overcome? Inbreeding depression means what? Due to continuous inbreeding, fertility and productivity will be decreased. This is called inbreeding depression. Due to continuous inbreeding, fertility and productivity is decreased. This is called inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression can be overcome by a single outcross. Outcross is different, outbreeding is different. And outbreeding is different, crossbreeding is different, you can see. Outbreeding 3 types: outcross, crossbreeding, interspecific breeding. The next one, now we are seeing here that crossbreeding. So crossbreeding is the breeding between two animals which are belong to two different breeds of the same species. Two different breeds of the same species. For example, one we can take is, that is only I told you already, pug is one type of dog, one breed of dog, and another one more, for example, German Shepherd is one. So for example, if you cross these two, that is called what? Crossbreeding. So this example what we can take is Merino rams. Merino rams are crossed with Bicanary eves. Merino rams, rams means males, eves means females, eves. Bicanary eves means Bicanary variety of breed, and the Merino is the variety of, the Merino is one type of breed. Merino is one type of breed. From that, these two are breeds of sheep. This cross was held in Punjab. So they did this cross in Punjab. In Punjab they did this cross. Punjab. Crossbreeding means, what is crossbreeding? Breeding between two animals. The two animals belong to two different breeds. For example, here we are saying one male sheep we are taking, that male sheep belongs to Merino breed. And female sheep we are taking, the female sheep is belong to Bicanary. The female sheep is belong to Bicanary. The Bicanary eves. Eves means the female sheep. And Merino ram. Ram is male. The male belongs to Merino breed and female belongs to Bicanary. So Bicanary eves are crossed with Merino rams and produces a new variety. Here is called, new variety is called Hazardale. Hazardale is a new variety of sheep. A new breed of sheep is developed by crossing between already existing two breeds. Bicanary eves and Merino rams. Bicanary eves are crossed with Merino rams and produce a new variety of sheep that is called Hazardale. That is called Hazardale. So that is, Hazardale is produced. So here one question is there, production of Hazardale is an example for crossbreeding. Production of Hazardale is an example for crossbreeding. So how Hazardale is produced for 2 more question. How Hazardale is produced? This is for 2 more question. That is, when Merino rams are crossed with Bicanary eves, Hazardale is produced. Next, let us see interspecific breeding. Interspecific breeding. Inter means, now let us split this word. Inter, in between, specific, 2 species. In between 2 species. 2 species means what we can say, take male donkey for example. Donkey male we have taken, and male donkey, and female horse we have taken. Female horse. Female horse we have taken. Male donkey is crossed with female horse. Then what has happened? Mule is produced. Mule. The production of mule is an example for interspecific breeding. The production of mule is an example for interspecific breeding. Interspecific breeding means the male of one species and female of another species both are crossed. The male of one species and the female of another species both are crossed, and when the cross is produced mule. So this is an example for interspecific breed. This is very commonly noun cross. So that is interspecific cross, and this is very, very important, that is cross breeding. Cross breeding is nothing but crossing of one breed, one animal, another breed, another animal. So from the one breed we have taken one male and another breed we have taken female, or vice versa also we can take, no problem. So that is, here Merino rams is crossed with Beccaneries. Particularly Hazardale is given, means how Hazardale is produced. Vice versa we should not write here. Here Merino rams only we have tried. Generally cross breeding means what? One breed, for example some X breed, male we have taken, some Y breed, female we have taken, or from the X, vice versa we can take here. But here how Hazardale is produced? Hazardale is produced by the cross between Merino rams only we have tried. Merino eves we should not write. Merino rams and Beccanary eves. Merino rams and Beccanary eves only we have tried. Beccanary eves. Beccanary is the variety of eve. Beccanary is the variety of sheep. So that is from that Beccanary variety of Beccanary breed we have to take sheep, female sheep, and Merino we have to take a male sheep. When these two are crossed, Hazardale is produced. So this cross was done in Punjab. So this is totally animal breeding. Next, another one more breeding is also there. Let us discuss controlled breeding. Next, let us see controlled breeding. Controlled breeding. Controlled breeding. This is only also called controlled breeding, only also called MOET. MOET. The full form of MOET is multiple ovulation and embryo transformation. 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 So this is the full form of MOET. This is also called as controlled breeding. This process is used to increase the herd size in animals. This process or this technique is used to increase the herd size in animals. Now let us see what is controlled breeding. In this multiple ovulation embryo transformation method, the animals or cows are injected with FSH like hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, FSH like hormone. Then what will happen? Generally, in the estrous cycle of the female, in the estrous cycle of the cow, it produces only one egg. But in the time when FSH like hormones are injected to cow, these are called gonadotropins. FSH hormone is called gonadotropin, LH and FSH. And when FSH is hormone is injected to cows, then what happened? They produce more than one egg, more than one egg will be produced. Means totally 6 to 8 eggs will be produced, 6 to 8 ovules. 6 to 8 ovules are produced. This process is called as superovulation. This process is also called as superovulation or multiple ovulation. This process is called multiple ovulation or superovulation. Why it is called superovulation? Because in the normal estrous cycle, a cow produces only one egg or one ovum. But when a cow is injected with FSH like hormone, it produces 6 to 8 eggs or 6 to 8 ovum. So then it is called superovulation. Superovulation. And in this cow, now artificial insemination we have to do. Artificial insemination. In this cow, artificial insemination we have to do. For artificial insemination, we have to collect. What is artificial insemination? Artificial deposition of sperm. Artificial deposition of sperm into the female reproductive tract of a cow. Artificial deposition of sperm into the cow reproductive tract is known as artificial insemination. For this process, the sperm is collected from other country bulls. The sperm is collected from other country bulls. One time the sperm is collected means it will be useful for it can be stored for 10 to 12 years in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees centigrade temperature. So this process is called cryopreservation. Cryo means ice. Cryo means ice. At minus 196 degrees temperature, the sperm will be protected. The sperm will be stored. The sperm is collected from other country bulls. The sperm is collected from other country bulls. In this way, at this temperature, in liquid nitrogen, at this temperature, at liquid nitrogen, that sperm will be stored in the liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees temperature. Then in this way, the sperm can be stored up to 10 to 12 years. In this way, the sperm can be stored up to 10 to 12 years. And in this sperm will be taken, and that sperm will be introduced into female reproductive tract artificially by a veterinary doctor. This process is called artificial insemination. This process is called artificial insemination. What is artificial insemination? Artificial deposition of sperm into the female reproductive tract of a cow. So this sperm deposition is to be done artificially. For that, we have to collect the sperm from other country bulls, and from this other country bulls, the sperm is collected and stored at minus 196 degrees temperature in liquid nitrogen. And in this way, we can store this 12 to 12 years. The sperm can be stored in liquid nitrogen at this temperature in 10 to 12 years. So this process, after artificial insemination, obviously, how many ovules are produced here? After multiple ovulation, 6 to 8 eggs are produced. After artificial insemination, because insemination will be happen, so that 6 to 8, these 6 to 8 will be converted into 6 to 8 embryos. 6 to 8 embryos, because 6 to 8 ovules are produced because of injecting FSH hormone in a cow. So 6 to 8 eggs are produced because of artificial insemination. We know already in one insemination only sperm contains many millions. So that this after artificial insemination, the sperm will be deposited inside. When the sperm is deposited, 6 to 8 embryos will be formed. These 6 to 8 embryos cannot grow in the same reproductive tract, so that the same uterus, so that all the eggs will be taken outside with Foley's catheter. With Foley's catheter is a device. Foley's catheter is a device. With using of this Foley's catheter, all the eggs will be recovered from the fallopian tube of the cow, and all these eggs will be individually, each one egg will be kept individually into surrogate cows. We know surrogacy method already. Surrogate means what? Surrogate cows. In the surrogate cows means what? The cows are not genetical mothers. These cows are not genetical mothers. Either ovum is the ovum is not at all related to this cow, but this cow is donating its uterus for developing a baby, that's all. So that type of cows are called surrogate cows. And in the superovulated cow, 6 to 8 embryos are formed after artificial insemination. After artificial insemination, 6 to 8 embryos are formed. These all embryos cannot grow in the same uterus, so that these embryos will be recovered, and one embryo will be kept in one surrogate cow. Like that, 6-7 surrogate cows we have to take, and in every cow one embryo we have to transfer. This process is known as controlled breeding. So once again, let us see this. First, this process is called MOET, multiple ovulation and embryo transformation. Multiple ovulation and embryo transformation. So in this method, the cow is injected with follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone, when it is injected to the cow, it produces more than one embryo. Means more than one ovule. Generally, one ovule it produces during the time of estrous cycle, but when the cow is injected with FSH hormone, it produces 6 to 8 ovules. After that, this same cow, artificial insemination should be done in the same cow reproductive tract. Then after artificial insemination, 6 to 8 embryos will be formed. These 6 to 8 embryos cannot grow in the same cow, so that all these 6 to 8 embryos will be recovered, and these embryos will be inserted into different surrogate cows. In the surrogate cows, each surrogate cow takes one embryo, and that embryo will grow in that cow. In this way, we can improve the herd size. By using of this controlled method or MOET, multiple ovulation and embryo transformation.